The Day the Earth Stood Still wasn't just another flying saucer picture, but its making is full of stories fans rarely hear. Did you know the film's original ending revealed the robot was never a servant, but the true master? Or that a screenwriter smuggled a secret religious allegory past his own director? 16 truths. Let's begin with the biggest one. Number 16. The original ending revealed Gort was the master all along. Here's the biggest buried secret of them all. The film is based on Farewell to the Master, a 1940 novelette by Harry Bates, and that story ends with one of the greatest twists in science fiction history. In the original, Klaatu is shot dead within moments of arriving. The robot, called Gnut in the story, spends the rest of the tale silently working to resurrect his fallen companion from a recording of his voice. A reporter, moved by the robot's loyalty, begs it to tell its masters that Klaatu's death was a terrible accident. And the robot's final words, the last line of the entire story, are, "You misunderstand. I am the master." The robot was never the bodyguard. The god, like man, was the servant. Screenwriter Edmund North's adaptation erased that reveal entirely, though if you listen closely, its ghost survives. Klaatu admits the planets have handed absolute police power over life and death to a race of robots. The masters are still there. The movie just stopped advertising it. For over 70 years, casual fans have watched this film without knowing its source material ends by pulling the floor out from under everything they just assumed. Number 15. Spencer Tracy wanted the role, and the producer fought to stop him. Klaatu almost had one of the most famous faces in America. Claude Rains was the first serious choice, but a Broadway commitment took him out. Then, the script went to Spencer Tracy, a two-time Oscar winner at the height of his powers, and by several accounts, Tracy actually wanted the part. For a producer, that's a lottery ticket, but Julian Blaustein pleaded with the studio to keep Tracy off his movie. His logic was airtight. The moment Spencer Tracy steps out of a flying saucer, the audience sees Spencer Tracy. Not a visitor from another world. An alien has to be a stranger. So Fox took a British actor almost unknown to American audiences, Michael Rennie, and the gamble defined the film. Rennie's Klaatu feels genuinely otherworldly precisely because we'd never seen him before. Sometimes the boldest casting decision is turning a legend away at the door. Number 14. The Pentagon read the script and walked. 45 years before Independence Day lost its military support over Area 51, this movie pulled off the exact same trick. According to director Robert Wise, the Department of Defense refused to participate in the film after reading the script. A story where the U.S. Army shoots a peaceful ambassador twice, and the hero's message is essentially, your weapons will get your planet incinerated. So where did all those tanks and jeeps surrounding the saucer come from? Workarounds. The production got its hardware and soldiers courtesy of units like the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment out of Fort Meade. One of the tanks in the film even carries their brave rifles insignia, with the National Guard stepping in where the Pentagon wouldn't. Hollywood's most famous anti-militarism sci-fi film got its military hardware through the side door. Number 13. The man inside Gort could barely carry the suit. Gort is 8 feet of seamless, indestructible metal, the most intimidating robot of the century. The man inside him, Lock Martin, a gentle 7'7" doorman at Grauman's Chinese Theater, was discovered because director Robert Wise simply couldn't find an actor tall enough. Here's the heartbreaking irony. Martin was frail. He could only endure about 30 minutes in the suit at a time, and he couldn't actually lift Patricia Neal. In the famous shot of Gort carrying her, wires from a crane supported her weight, and in shots from behind, he's cradling a lightweight dummy. Even Michael Rennie sat on a hidden dolly so Martin wouldn't bear the load. During the final sequence, Martin had to stand in the suit so long he began having muscle spasms. Watch closely during Klaatu's farewell speech, and you can see Gort's arms trembling. The most powerful being on Earth was played by one of the most physically fragile men on the set, and the movie is arguably better for it. Every ounce of Gort's menace is pure imagery. Lock Martin died in 1959, just 42 years old, but the robot he suffered inside is immortal. Number 12. Gort has no seams because there were 2 Gorts. Ever notice that Gort's body appears completely smooth? No zippers, no laces, no joints. Here's the trick. The production built 2 foam rubber suits, one laced up the back, worn whenever Gort faced the camera, and the other laced up the front, worn whenever Gort walked away. Cut them together, and the robot appears seamless from every angle, a being that was clearly never put on by anyone. The same obsession extended to the saucer. To make the ship look like a single unbroken object with no visible door, the crew filled the crack around the hatch with putty and painted over it. Then let the melting reveal of the opening scene do the rest. For long static shots, Gort wasn't Martin at all, but a fiberglass stand-in. No CG, no digital cleanup, just 1951 problem-solving so elegant that the illusion still holds up on a 4K screen today. Number 11. The blackboard equations are real physics. When Klaatu sneaks into Professor Barnhart's study and casually corrects his blackboard, most productions would have filled that board with impressive-looking gibberish. Not this one. The equations describe a genuine form of the three-body problem in Newtonian gravitation, a famously unsolvable puzzle in celestial mechanics, and exactly the kind of math you'd need to navigate between star systems. Even better, the handwriting and the way the terms are organized show the work of an actual physicist, and the production had science fiction writer Raymond F. Jones on hand as an uncredited technical advisor. It's a detail maybe one viewer in 10,000 could ever verify, and they did it anyway. That's the quiet confidence running through this whole film. It respected its audience decades before that was fashionable. Number 10. Nobody in the cast ever went to Washington. The film feels inseparable from Washington, D.C., the Mall, the Lincoln Memorial, Arlington Cemetery. So here's the magic trick. None of the principal actors ever set foot there. The entire shoot ran from April to May 1951 on the Fox sound stages in Backlot in Los Angeles. A second unit went to Washington and Fort Meade to capture backgrounds, and for the wide shots of Klaatu and Bobby touring the Capitol, they simply dressed up doubles. Everything else, the Lincoln Memorial moment, the visit to Bobby's father's grave, was actors in front of rear projection screens in California. The film that defined how movies see Washington was an illusion assembled 3,000 miles away. Old Hollywood didn't need location budgets, it needed nerve. Number 9. The lost scene that explains a plot hole. Ever wonder how Klaatu goes from being grabbed at the boarding house by a government agent to casually strolling into Professor Barnhart's study? There was a whole scene explaining it, and it's gone. In the cut sequence, Klaatu is hauled to a police station with a lineup of other suspected spacemen. He has no identification, and he's moments from being put in front of eyewitnesses who could expose him. When the military intervenes, because Professor Barnhart has requested Mr. Carpenter by name, and Barnhart outranks everybody. Robert Wise cut it for pace. He reasoned the audience wanted to get to the meeting between Klaatu and the professor, not watch paperwork. He was probably right, but it means one of the most tightly constructed sci-fi films ever made has been quietly missing a puzzle piece since 1951, and almost nobody noticed. Quick transmission break. If you're enjoying this deep dive, hit like and subscribe so we can keep excavating the classics. Now stay with me because the back half of this countdown is where it gets truly wild. A blacklisted actor, a secret Jesus, and the 3 words that ended up in a galaxy far, far away. Number 8. The score had no violins, and it invented the sci-fi sound. Close your eyes and think of spooky alien music. That wailing, gliding, electronic sound in your head was born here. Composer Bernard Herrmann, the man behind Citizen Kane and later Psycho, tore the standard studio orchestra apart for this film. He dropped the entire string section, replaced it with electronic violins and electric bass, and built the score around not 1 but 2 theremins, played by specialist Dr. Samuel Hoffman, double-tracked and sometimes literally run in reverse. Herrmann and Wise went back to the beginning together. Wise had been the editor on Citizen Kane while Herrmann scored it. Reunited here, they created the sonic blueprint that every alien movie for the next 70 years would either copy or fight against. When you hear a theremin and instantly think flying saucer, that reflex was installed in your brain by this film. Number 7. The film's smartest man in the world was being blacklisted in real life. Professor Barnhart, the Einstein-like genius who becomes Klaatu's only ally, was played by Sam Jaffe, fresh off an Oscar nomination for The Asphalt Jungle. Casting him in 1951 was itself an act of quiet defiance. Jaffe was known for his liberal politics, and the McCarthy-era machinery was already circling him around the time this film, a movie about paranoid authorities destroying a messenger of peace, was in theaters. Jaffe was blacklisted for refusing to cooperate with the House on Un-American Activities Committee. Read that back. A film about fear-devouring reason starred a man who was, at that very moment, being devoured by exactly that fear. His career in Hollywood collapsed for years. He taught math to survive. The movie's subtext wasn't subtext for Sam Jaffe. It was his life. Number 6. Klaatu is secretly Jesus, and the screenwriter told no one. Follow the trail. Klaatu descends from the heavens, walks among us under the name Mr. Carpenter, the trade of Jesus, with the initials JC. Hiding in plain sight once you notice the laundry tag reads Carpenter. He performs wonders, preaches peace, is betrayed by a jealous man, is killed by the state, rises from the dead, delivers a final sermon, and ascends into the sky. None of this is accidental, and here's the astonishing part. Screenwriter Edmund North deliberately kept it secret from his own director and producer. He later called it my private little joke, saying he never discussed it with Wise or Blaustein because he wanted the Christ parallel to stay subliminal. One of the most analyzed religious allegories in cinema history was smuggled into the film by one man, alone, telling nobody. The director of the movie didn't know he was making it. Number 5. The censors forced a rewrite of the resurrection, nearly detonating the ending. In North's script, Gort resurrects Klaatu permanently. Joseph Brain, the censor stationed at Fox by the Motion Picture Association, balked. A machine restoring life was, in the censor's eyes, blasphemy. Only God gets that power. According to producer Julian Bluestein, the standoff turned into a genuinely nasty confrontation that left everyone boiling. The compromise is in the finished film. When Helen asks if Gort has power over life and death, Klaatu explains his revival is only temporary. That power is reserved to the Almighty Spirit. One line dictated by the censors, and you can feel the seam where it was stitched in. So the film's ending, where Klaatu may be living on borrowed time as he flies away, isn't the ending as written, it's the ending as permitted. Between this and number 16, that's two different endings this story lost on its way to the screen, the true forbidden endings hidden from audiences for over 75 years. Number 4. Klaatu Barada Nikto has never been translated, and it conquered pop culture. The most famous line in the film is 3 words no one can define. Screenwriter Edmund North never provided a translation, and the film never explains it. We only know it stops Gort from destroying the Earth. It may be the only safe word in history with a planet attached, and its afterlife is ridiculous. Sam Raimi built an entire plot point around the phrase in Army of Darkness. In Return of the Jedi, 3 of the aliens in Jabba the Hutt's entourage are literally named Klaatu, Barada, and Nikto. Type about robots into the Firefox browser, and the page greets you with Gort. Klaatu Barada Nikto. 3 untranslatable syllables from 1951 became a secret handshake passed between generations of nerds, a password not just for a robot, but for an entire culture. Number 3. The film reached the real White House and maybe Cold War diplomacy. Here's where it gets surreal. Lou Cannon, Ronald Reagan's biographer, and Colin Powell both believed this film shaped the thinking of a sitting U.S. president. Reagan, a Hollywood man to his core, reportedly drew on it when he mused to Mikhail Gorbachev at their 1985 Geneva summit about how quickly the U.S. and Soviet Union would cooperate if Earth faced an alien invasion. Gorbachev later confirmed the exchange happened. 2 years later, Reagan said it out loud to the entire United Nations. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. That is Klaatu's thesis, almost verbatim. Delivered from the real podium, the fictional Klaatu was never allowed to reach. Powell reportedly groaned every time Reagan reached for the alien speech. A 1951 B-movie premise worked its way into actual nuclear-age diplomacy. No other film in this genre can claim that. Number 2. The director went on to make Star Trek. The quiet craftsman behind all this, Robert Wise, might have the most absurd resume in Hollywood history. Before this film, he was the editor of Citizen Kane. After it, he directed West Side Story and The Sound of Music, winning 4 Academy Awards between them. Then, he closed the loop. He returned to science fiction with The Andromeda Strain, and in 1979, he directed Star Trek: The Motion Picture, another story about a vast, misunderstood machine intelligence approaching Earth with a message we're too frightened to hear. Wise said he normally hated films that preach. The story should carry the message silently. He made exactly one exception in his career: this film. In his words, the whole purpose of The Day the Earth Stood Still was for Klaatu to deliver that final warning. The man Hollywood trusted with musicals, horror, war films, and Star Trek believed this was the one story worth breaking his own rules for. Number 1. The flop-sized hit that outlived the entire decade. By blockbuster math, this film was modest. A budget under $1 million, a first release worldwide gross of around $1.8 million. It wasn't the biggest hit of 1951, but then the strangest thing happened. Almost everything bigger faded, and this film refused to die. It won the Golden Globe for Best Film promoting international understanding, a Peace Prize for a flying saucer movie. Arthur C. Clarke placed it among the 12 greatest science fiction films ever made. In 1995, the Library of Congress selected it for the National Film Registry. 75 years on, the invasion movies it inspired come and go every summer. The quiet one, the one where the alien never fires a shot, is the one we kept. Those were 16 hidden truths about the day the Earth stood still. Which one rewired your brain? The original I Am the Master, or Reagan quoting Klaatu to the United Nations? Tell us in the comments. And if this earned it, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who still practices saying Klaatu, barada, nikto, just in case. Until next time, the Earth keeps turning. For now.